Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Normie Recertification Training. Today is August 29th, the end of August, 2023. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you here in the room. Welcome, everybody online. We've got a bunch of people out there on multiple platforms. So glad to see you all here today. And we have our admin people popping in the room. So glad to see them. Welcome, everybody. Well, let's get a few quick announcements out of the way, and then we'll talk about a few other things that are going to happen today. We're going to try to stay live with this broadcast across all the platforms as an open training to everyone. So hopefully you'll all be able to stick around and watch that. The Normie members at this point won't have to come into the impact.normie.org room. But if you do, you can at least communicate back and forth with us compared to being on the social media platforms. With that said, Doug, you want to say a quick hello to everybody?
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Good you're here.
Thank you, Doug. I know you were traveling a lot and all over the place, so I'm not even quite sure where you are right now.
I'm in my office actually today. So.
Okay. Well, for those of you that are out and about, please, a word of caution. There are several hurricanes out there doing all kinds of stuff across the Southeast. It's actually 3 of them, and 2 of them are going to crisscross each other. So it's kind of interesting as to what's going on. Be safe. That's all I can say. And for those of you that are going to be working in those areas, don't wait till the last minute to gather your supplies and be ready for it, because the stuff's going to go quick like it always does. All righty. Tim, you want to do some quick announcements for us on some classes coming up and happenings?
Yeah, thanks, Lance. We're right in the middle of a really busy stretch for us here. And next week, big event is not a class per se, but the experience, trade show and convention. And of course, Normie is going to be doing scads of training throughout those 3 days, the experience. And so we'd love to see you join us out there if you can. Doug, I believe we have a discount for those who are Normie members. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. I don't know what the coupon code is. I believe probably Lance has it, but we do have a discount. Yes.
You're muted, Lance.
That's because I didn't want you all to hear me say, I got to go look that up.
Well, we'll get back to you on that, Lance, but really, we would love for you to come out and join us in Las Vegas. It's at the Caesars Forum Convention Center, and it is a huge, huge show. It is one of the industry's best shows. Normie will have a large presence there as usual, and as I said, we'll be doing lots and lots of training, lots of hands-on training, as well as some classroom training. So please come and join us if you are able to do so. And Lance will get us that discount code here in a few minutes for active Normie members for the trade show and convention. The following week, immediately after that, is our CMA CMR class in English at our Normie Pro Academy in Sunrise, Florida, Fort Lauderdale area, the 12th through the 14th of September. And then we'll do it all over again, the 17th through the 19th of October. Again, another CMA CMR class, which is, of course, the Florida licensing class. And that also works for Louisiana, for DC, and it's a national certifying class for all states except for New York and Texas. And you can also come to the first 2 days if you already have your license in the state of Florida, and those first 2 days get you all 14 hours of your continuing education for the state of Florida. So again, September 12th through the 14th or October 17th through the 19th. Then later in the year, we have several advanced classes on the schedule, and one of them, of course, is the ISSS class, which is an advanced assessment class, but this one is very special because it is in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and that is in late October. The 23rd and the 24th is the class, but that is a trip to an all-exclusive or an all-inclusive resort. Just a great trip. Go look that up and see what you can find about that, and join us in Mexico. And then in November, a couple of advanced classes, and really all kind of tied in together, and that is the NCRSI and NCMP, which deals with sensitized individuals. And if you have not added this to your assessment business, you need to do so, because we know that there is a large percentage of the population now that is chemically sensitive. and remediation has to be done very differently on those projects. And these advanced classes teach you just how to do that. So look at the schedule at training.normie.org or oldskool@besttrainingschool.com, and you'll see our schedule there. Lance, did you have the coupon code? I'm putting you on the spot.
I did find it, and it is in the chat area. Since it's for Normie members only, this way it'll show up for everybody in the chat area in our impact.normie.org room.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Lance. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Doug, any follow-up on the announcements?
Well, the only thing that I'll follow up on is the thing that is really for everybody, and that's that trip to Puerto Vallarta. It's going to be the October 22nd through the 27th. Go to events.normie.org. We're going to have a great time, a whole week at that resort, all-inclusive resort. It's going to be a really good class. So we had several people yesterday in our class in Fort Lauderdale that talked about that particular class because they realized the importance of it in terms of an advanced indoor air quality class. So it's just 2 days, but it's going to be a great 2 days talking about IAQ strategy, sampling, and solutions. So we're really encouraging everybody who can. I think we've got several rooms ready to go if you haven't made a decision yet. And I think you'll find that it's really going to be a great class and really good price. I think Larry's willing to work on some kind of a payment plan if you need it, and we'd love to have you there.
Thank you, Doug. All right, Mike, I think I'm going to hold off on you until after the presentation tonight. We'll talk about specials and anything like that at the end.
Sounds good.
And for now, I'm going to get started with talking about some artificial intelligence. It's new on our horizon, but it's already here. So I'm going to ask everybody to shut down their video and mics. I'm going to turn my video off. Just let me know when I bring up the PowerPoint if everybody's able to see that, and we'll go from there. Just stand by, everybody. So in theory, you should all be able to see a screen that says artificial intelligence on it.
We got it.
All right, very good. All right, well, I'm going to get started here. I want to talk about this because as much as a lot of us, and I include myself in there, try to avoid changing and changes that are coming in industries, some things we can't. Some things are becoming the norm, and this is one of them. There's a political issue with this, there's social issues with this, but it still isn't stopping that it's on her horizon. So I want to talk about it and put it in context of how it can help us in our industry, indoor air quality, mold assessment, mold remediation, water drying, all these different industries, and what artificial intelligence can do within our IAQ space. So what I want to cover is the importance of indoor air quality. Now, everybody here is usually, I'm saying usually because people attending this trainings have gone through many of our trainings about indoor air quality. So you should be familiar with the components of it, but we may touch a little bit on that as we go through this presentation, just to give you a frame of reference, especially if you haven't been through even our basic classes. I want to talk about the differences and the significance of artificial intelligence, or AI, in a lot of different industries that are affecting us today. And it's really just going to be about the scope of this presentation. We're not going to make you artificial intelligence engineers. We're not going to make you programmers. It's just to give you an idea that it is there and some understanding about what it is. So let's talk about a few definitions. IAQ, or indoor air quality, refers to the condition of the air within and around buildings, especially as it relates to the health and comfort of occupants. Now, normally we talk about IAQ as to what's going on inside the structure, and that's the majority of it, though we do have to take into account, especially with commercial buildings, fresh air intake. A lot of people are starting to do fresh air intake to their residences, and your outdoor conditions can at times affect that if you don't treat your indoor air quality correctly. So some fundamentals about artificial intelligence. And these are the basic concepts that you need to understand, or at least recognize exist, if you're going to try to talk about and work with artificial intelligence. All right, there is machine learning and there is deep learning. Now, these are things that the computers do or the machines do to improve their thought processes, if you want to call it. And I'm going to keep referring back to the human element, the way that our brains work, because the machines are really copying what we do naturally. And we're going to talk about the role of data in artificial intelligence applications, because even though the machines learn, they still need data to help them learn. But we'll get into a little bit more of that. All right, here's a quote from Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Absolutely correct. We have so many people that get into the analyzing of situations that they get paralyzed. I know there's a saying that Doug always uses, what is it, paralysis of analysis or by analysis? Well, it's true. Overthinking, overworking through a lot of technical things can prevent you from actually doing things. And you also start going down the path where you can develop fears of going into new territories. Well, I have an answer to that, and I agree with Mr. Disney there, but don't fear the technology. The technology is going to happen whether you want it to or not. And none of us as individuals are able to really stop advancing forward. And I'll show you some examples later on of what I mean by that. But you have to understand and take into account that progress means change and growth and differences. And you really have to learn how to work with some of that stuff. Kicking and screaming, but you may have to still do it. So artificial intelligence, AI, refers to the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. So it's the machines emulating or acting as human intelligence. AI allows machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as problem solving, learning, reasoning, and decision making. Now, sounds complicated, sounds very deep, but we use this technology every day. You probably don't even realize it. And you are using artificial intelligence in so many facets of what you do in your business, your homes, your schools. It's out there. You can't avoid it. So let's talk about, and I mentioned this earlier, machine learning and deep learning. Now, there's subtle differences, but they're important differences. And this is about as deep as we're going to go into what you need to know about AI. So machine learning, it's a subset of artificial intelligence that involves training machines to learn from data and improve their performance over time without being explicitly programmed. That's pretty powerful. You're teaching machines how to perform functions and learn on their own. Now, deep learning is a type of machine learning that we just talked about that utilizes neural networks with multiple layers to extract intricate patterns from data. So not only are the machines now learning on their own and developing new routines and thought processes based on just their learning ability, they're using what they're calling here deep layers, resources of the internet, resources of additional programmers, putting more data patterns into what they can look at, and it helps them create new thought processes. Kind of how we work. I mean, as we grow up from the infant stage, we are taught how to learn. We're taught how to do things. And at some point, we start learning on our own, experiencing the world around us and growing. Well, that's exactly what these machines are doing. The deep learning is us helping that process along by giving them more resources than them just struggling on their own to find the way. So what do we get from all of this? Well, AI simulates human intelligence in machines. We talked about that. That's pretty straightforward. Machine learning and deep learning are key artificial intelligence approaches to them becoming smarter and more efficient. Data is essential for training artificial intelligence models, meaning the more information we can assist giving them, the more information and data they can discover on their own, the faster they're going to learn. And AI has applications in various fields and impacts our daily lives. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Before I get to that, though, I have to bring up, because I mentioned it earlier, talking about ethical and social considerations of artificial intelligence. Now, this is not going to be a political debate or discussion in any way. I just want you to know that it is out there, just like a lot of other topics, that there's pros and cons on, and mixed feelings on both sides of the artificial intelligence arena. This next slide will mean things to some people out there, especially slightly older generation people than the younger ones, but you should recognize this, and we'll talk a little bit about it as it happens. Social and ethical considerations for AI. Hopefully you all recognize Mr. Schwarzenegger there as the Terminator, which was a movie from 25, 30 years ago, maybe longer, where artificial intelligence at some point in its developmental stage became self-aware. And at that point, it became a thinking entity that took on human characteristics and started to protect itself. The short version is society realized what was happening. They tried to unplug the artificial intelligence, and it got angry. And it basically looked at human society and human population as a virus and decided to eradicate it. We're obviously not there, but the ethical and social considerations on deploying something as powerful as machine learning is something that has to be looked at from many different aspects. But it's still coming, it's not slowing down. So I'm going to talk about a program that I've been using quite a bit, and a lot of you may have heard of this. I know I've had some conversations with some of our members, and we've talked about some of the things that you can do with artificial intelligence and the different systems and platforms that are available to us just by sitting down in front of our computer at the internet or downloading a program and using it internally. One of the biggest ones out there right now, or the hottest topics, is something called ChatGPT. Now, this stands for Generative Pre-trained Transforming Language Model, developed by OpenAI. And OpenAI is one that developed this. Now, this is a language and an artificial intelligence platform working together to provide feedback to human input, to machine input, to internet requests and queries. And it works seamlessly and instantaneously. And I'm going to give you some idea on speed as we go through this. It's designed to generate human-like text based on the input it receives. GPT models are part of a family of machine learning models that have achieved impressive results in various natural language processing tasks, such as text generation, language translation, text completion, and more. Basically, it can perform better than me in speaking. A lot of the functionality that we do in normal communications now, it just does it much quicker. Now, there's something out there that you may have heard the term called groupthink. Well, that's a biased description of the information that these types of programs can grab. Now, the bias comes from how they were programmed to look at information. They may look more on a conservative side, may look more on a liberal side. hopefully there's a balance. Hopefully they're looking at information from both and pulling a good sampling as they grab this information and make their decisions going forward and present responses to somebody asking a question. We'll talk about that as we get a little bit more into this. So Chat GPT specifically focuses on generating text in a conversational style, making it well suited for chatbots. We'll get back to those in a moment, and other applications that involve interaction with users through written or spoken language. It can understand context, generate coherent responses, answer questions, provide explanations, and engage in back and forth conversations. Now, I'm sure just about everybody here has clicked on a help button on their computer to get some kind of support. And all of a sudden you have chat information coming at you. And now you're communicating through chat with possibly a person, but more likely a chat bot, which is an artificial intelligence machine, if you want to call it, that has some programming, some data, but has the ability to look at the questions and the language and the scope of what you're asking and give answers accordingly. Everyone here does that. I'm sure you've called your bank or travel agency and gotten an automated response that says, please, in a few words, let us know what you're looking for. As you are providing that information, these AI engines are evaluating what you're asking, how you're asking, and making decisions on whether to transfer you, whether to try to give you information. Depends on what you're looking for. So you're already dealing with artificial intelligence. It's out there, you're using it, you just may not have been aware of it. So the model is trained on a diverse range of text from internet, which enables it to understand and generate text in a wide variety of topics and writing styles. Writing styles is interesting because it will sample the way that you are using it. It'll sample the questioning and the language that you use and give you an answer close to the style of how you asked it. Different parts of the country use different language. It's all English, but use different words. It will try to reply in a more localized context for you. It's important to note that while ChatGPT is incredibly versatile and capable of producing highly coherent and contextual relevant responses, now this is big, it doesn't possess true understanding or consciousness. It generates text based on patterns it's learned during training. That's the big difference between what we're talking about now and the image of Schwarzenegger and Skynet that I showed you a little while ago. It became conscious. When it was aware of its existence and it had consciousness, and that's when it became something else. Till then, it is a function of pretty much what's happening now in our society and the technology that we're using. The level of performance and quality of responses in ChatGPT has improved over time with iterations of the GPT architecture. Now, we are up to GPT-4, but it started with GPT-2, 3, 3.5, and GPT-4 has just come out. ChatGPT often uses a foundation for building chatbots, virtual assistants, content generation tools, and other applications that involve getting human-like text. Now, I'm going to show you something in a minute, and then I'm going to explain the power of what this does. And again, more real-world examples of what it does and how you can start using it within your business. So everything that I've talked about so far is accessible at this address, chat.openai.com. Now, this is the ChatGPT site that allows you to ask it a question, allows you to give it a task, allows you to ask it to do complex calculations, write HTML code for you. There's really no limit based on its learning capabilities. Now, if it doesn't know something today, you ask it tomorrow, it may have learned it because you asked it a question. So it's evolving constantly. I can tell you that the PowerPoint presentation that I'm giving you tonight was developed on chatopenai.com. All I did was ask it for a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation on artificial intelligence and Chat GPT. Within 30 seconds, I had a detailed outline of this PowerPoint presentation. All I had to do was complete slides. Now, for those of you that have done PowerPoint presentations, you know how long it can take to put together a presentation that's clean enough and ready to go for the public. It take a long time. It took 30 seconds to outline it. And the majority of text was there. And I could even ask it to elaborate on different aspects of slides or topics that it would instantly give me more information on and help me with my project. So a lot of you are saying, yeah, but I like to do it the old-fashioned way, or I'm comfortable with the way I write, or I want to do it but my own thought process. Absolutely. You are more than welcome to do that. I am only showing you options. But I'm going to show you something in a second here that is going to kind of give you a setting as to what happens with technology, what happens with changes in the industries, whether you want the change or not. So at some point in our history, when it got cold, we started a fire. We don't do that any longer for the most part. Now we press a button on the wall and the temperature heats up in the home or office. Technology. Fire was a major change in human history. So was the thermostat. Hundreds of thousands of years apart, similar usage, completely different technology. Gives you an idea that the old way still works, but there's a newer way. For those of you under 50, you may not recognize what is on the left side of the screen. Those were telephones, not in the exact infancy of phones, but not too far from it. And a short 100-ish years later, the one on the right is a telephone now that is pretty much the staple of society. I mean, try to remember going into a restaurant or sitting down at a table for dinner and seeing no phones. It doesn't happen anymore. Those phones are there in front of everybody. They're chatting, they're talking, they're eating, they're checking on posts, they're doing all kinds of stuff in real time on a phone in their hand compared to what a phone did years ago. Those old phones would still work, limited, but still make phone calls. But now what's out there is so much faster, better, quicker. Just to give you an idea, that phone that person is holding in their hand, and I don't think it's one of the newest ones out there, maybe several generations older, has more processing power in that than in the Apollo lunar lander and space capsule that took people to the moon. Much more, hundreds of times more the processing power, or thousands of times more. That's how far we've come in a short period of time because technology is changing and growing. Give you one more quick example of things that used to work, still could work, but there's a better way. That was new technology on the left then. You know, when we came from walking to horseback riding to horse and buggy, you could start to haul stuff to, well, I got a Tesla up there on the screen with airplane wing doors and all kinds of stuff going on. That's now. Back then they were engineless or gasless. They didn't use gasoline. And you're looking at a unit there that doesn't use gasoline 100-something years later. Of course, some people use it as a hybrid. Some people use it as a non-fuel type vehicle as far as oil. But it's technology. It's changed. It's new. Some people embrace it. Some people avoid it, but it's here. Well, that's what I wanted to show you in just the presentation portion of this. What I'm going to do now is change my share and bring up the Chat GPT program and show you exactly how dynamic and quick it actually works. So give me 1 second here. All right, getting closer, everybody. Just bear with me. Okay, so now let me share my screen and I'll bring up the chat AI information. So when you go into chat.openai.com, this is where you're going to get to. Then you have to create an account. There is a free account. Doesn't cost you anything to do this. And down at the bottom of the screen, it says send a message. That's really all it takes. I know we talk about a lot of different things in our classes, like your 30-second elevator speech, or how to talk to a customer on the phone, or how to do cold calling. If you want information on stuff like that, it's just a matter of asking, and it will produce it for you almost instantly. A few weeks back, I showed a video of a commercial that I had made. And what I did was I asked the Chat GPT to give me a 120-second video advertisement script for a mail to read about my company, which I gave the name, and indoor air quality. It took it about 25 seconds to spit out a 120-second readable document that all I had to do was make a few word corrections or changes to make it with my tone, and it was ready to go. The second part of that was I went online and got a company called Fiverr, hired an actor for $100 that did his own setting, staging, read it, produced the video, and for $100, I had a 120-second video ad that I'm able to run on the internet. And it was all done basically hands off by me, just by asking some artificial intelligence and reaching out to another service. So let's look at what Chat GPT does. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to type in 30-second my company ABC inspections. Now, I haven't done this before, so I have no idea what it's going to give me, but let's find out. You can see it's writing right there in front of us. And I think it was the 30-second speech. So what do we get? Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, let me introduce you to ABC Inspections. We are more than just a company. We're your assurance of quality and safety with a steadfast commitment of excellence, blah, 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 on and on. It was that quick. If I don't like what it gave me, or I want to see something different, this little button here, regenerate, click on that. It's going to give me another version. Write it a little bit differently. All you have to do at this point is copy this, put it into Word or Notepad, and just change a few words, and you have a personalized document that was written for you with your own touches added to it. Just the way that it saves you time is something worth looking at. There are a lot of other examples I wanted to speak about as I was going through the presentation, but I wanted to make sure I got to this, and I'll go back to this in a minute. But I just want you to understand that some other things that artificial intelligence does for you. I don't know how many of you work out of a home office, but I do. So my assistant is an electronic device. I have a Google device and I have an Alexa device. And I literally, as I'm typing stuff, I just ask questions and I get answers given right to me. Everything from how to spell something to correct zip codes to how do I do something? What's a definition of a word? Give me a synonym for the word. It's all right there. I have electronic assistants sitting here with me, helping out. Now, they're not opening the mail for me, but they are doing things for me. So if you have those types of devices in your home, you're using artificial intelligence all the time. If you watch Netflix, if you watch Amazon TV, or you shop on Amazon, you're using artificial intelligence just by using their sites, because their sites know what your shopping preferences are. And they're going to put things up in front of you, helping you make purchases. They're going to make suggestions for you based on your shopping habits. Netflix is going to recommend different movies and TV shows for you based on your viewing preferences. It watches or looks at what you watch, makes educated judgment decisions based on patterns, and makes other suggestions for you. You're using AI, whether you're aware of it or not. So let's jump back here to the chat GPT stuff. I mentioned about PowerPoints before. UTLI and outline PowerPoint for water drying. Let's see, outline PPT for water drying. Let's see what it gives us. As you can see, it's spitting it out by slide with bullet points for each slide, recommendations on things to talk about. And for those of you that have created PowerPoint presentations and had to sit there and develop this type of outline so you could put together a comprehensive presentation, this is done. It's completely created this for me. All I have to do is tweak it and put sections of this into my PowerPoint, add some pictures, and I'm up and running with a complete presentation. If I don't like what it gave me, I want to see some alternatives, just click regenerate. And it's going to start the process again. And now it's giving me different options, different topic thought lines. And it's that simple. Whatever you can think of. If you wanted to do calculations for you for if you open up a savings account and, you know, put $1,000 in it at 5% interest, what's it going to be worth in 5 years and 10 years? Simply, it calculates it for you instantly. It's all there for you to use. Don't be afraid of it. And if you choose not to use it, there's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware that things that you're doing in society is probably involved with artificial intelligence anyways that you're interacting with. So if you ever got mad at that person you were talking on the phone and you started yelling at them because you didn't realize it was a chatbot, well, just something to keep in mind. We're going to stop this for a moment, see if we have any questions or comments from our group. I know we've had a lot of discussions recently about artificial intelligence. So I just wanted to bring this up for everybody and talk a little bit about it. I will tell you something else that I recently did while I was doing some research on some AI topics. I was looking for other programs that are out there that we're able to use in our industry with artificial intelligence. Now I'm going to bring up the Normie app real quick. Now I know we talked about it last week. We've had several hundred people download this since last Tuesday. And I know last Tuesday when I announced it, it was not available on the Google Play Store yet. It is now. Actually, about an hour after our recertification training, it went live. So I knew it was going to be within a day or 2 or 6, but it went live. So it is out there. You can go to your respective stores, either Google Play or the iPhone App Store. And the name of the app is Normie, N-O-R-M-I. Download it and you're up and running with it. But what I want to show you is, let me share my screen. While I was searching the internet, looking for things, and here's the app. This is what it looks like. You can also go to app.normie.org. I created, or wanted to create, an adventure storyline for training to make training a little bit more entertaining. So under the training tab on here, it opens up another menu, and I have on here play learning adventures. When you click on that, I have 4 different adventures I created. Now these were created using artificial intelligence. All I did was go to this other program, tell it what I wanted a storyline to be, gave it a few names, described a character, and within 2 minutes, I had a full-blown working game for the phone. And the game is a journey, the ones that I created. These are like you're a mold assessor going to do an inspection on a home, and it walks you through the home, asks you questions, gives you choices, and it's whether you pass or fail at the end, whether you did well, you have to do it again. There's home inspectors, there's remediators, and I'll be adding more of these different journeys and worlds, if you want to call it, which all helps with the learning of the indoor air quality industry. But it was a program that uses AI to create this learning tool that's now available for all of you people out there. The only thing you do have to do, if you do go to this screen, you notice on here there's a notation. You do have to download another program, BuildBox World. You get it at the same app stores. Downloads on your phone, you open it up once, and then you're good to go. You can always go back to the Normie app and just look at the adventures. But it's artificial intelligence driven, created, and just tweaked by some human input. And that's the deep learning that we talked about earlier, where the human input will give it some specific direction to continue to travel and learn. Okay, I am back. I would invite my admin people back into the room. Not sure if there's any questions out there.
Yeah, Lance, you got a couple of questions here in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Sohan asks, and I presume he's talking about ChatGPT. He said, is this free or for a charge?
There is a free version, which is what I have been using. When it originally came out, I'm using version 3 or 3.5 now, whatever it is. There was a lifetime one-time fee for $20. Well, that was version 3. That's gone. They're at version 4 now, which is the pay for. That's $20 a month. But what I'm using here is free.
Okay. And then Dan asked, can you highlight the part that you do like and then hit regenerate, and will it give you a new version, but it still include the parts that you liked from the first version?
Yes, actually, when it generates the response for you, you can go back to your original question and modify that. It lets you edit that. So you may say, write me a 120-second presentation or welcome speech for a crowd, and it does it. And you say, oh, you know what? I want it specific to the home inspectors. So you go, you hit edit, you write it for home inspectors, generates it again for you. So it builds on what it was. You can also copy out sections of what you wanted and use them later. It's just generating thought material for you. And you can't compete with the speed that it works at. Yeah,
that's what Sandy says in the chat area. He says, I've been using ChatGPT to create and add scripts to use as posts on social media. I've been also using it to summarize technical information regarding mold and IAQ topics for my clients. It is proving to be useful and a great time savings.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to drive everybody to this. I just want to do this as an awareness that it's out there. You're going to hear people more and more talking about this. To give you an idea on how quickly and how close we are to this stuff, a friend of my son's works for a large company out of California, and they have developed autonomous vehicles that are now in several major markets throughout the country, major cities. But these vehicles are now replacing a service that many of you have used in the past, Lyft and Uber. You now go online, you on your phone say, I need a ride from here to the airport, and an autonomous vehicle shows up for you. You get in and it takes you to where you want to go. Last week it was science fiction. It's now science fact. I've said that before. It's out there. We talked about, I had a conversation earlier today about autonomous pizza delivery vehicles that they're using, where you order a pizza, the pizza's put in a vehicle, it's sent out to you. You go out with a code, you punch it in, the door opens, you take your pizza, and the vehicle drives off. You can even pay for it, swiping your card at the vehicle. So this stuff is all now, and pretending it's not there or resisting it isn't helpful to you doing your stuff, because it's going to be there anyways. You don't have to use it, but you have to know it exists. That's my point.
I would like to add something, if that's okay.
Yeah.
To I believe it was Sandy who said that they were using it to generate technical manuals. always make sure if you're using it for something like that, make sure that you proofread and double check what it spits out, because it does use a predictive text, kind of like on your phone. It is more sophisticated than that, but there have been several instances of it giving out just completely incorrect information. So before you use it for anything that's related to safety or anything like that, make sure you double check it. I'm just trying to keep everyone safe out there. I'm not saying don't use it, but be safe.
Absolutely. And that was my point about, you need to go and edit it with your own flavor. You know, your personality has to go into it, the way that you speak and talk. You make tweaks, you change things. Obviously, if you see something that's not correct, you're going to correct it. You're going to take out that. But you also have to look at this as, this started, I believe, around 2020, 2021, when it was released for mainstream anyways. It's only a toddler. You know, if you think of a toddler learning and grasping information and concepts, that's what this is doing. So it's going to continue to improve and get faster. I want to see what the new version 4 looks like. It's supposed to be leaps and bounds beyond version 3 or 3.5. But I don't have to. You don't have to, but it's there for you if you want to use it.
Yeah,
What
Sandy
else?
says, I'm not using it for technical manuals. You certainly need to cross-check acceptable standards such as Normie.
Right. And you know what? That's with everything. If you forget about AI and you read something in a book, you're not going to take that as, you know, that is it. I mean, you're going to double check it with other sources.
Yep.
You know, and it's the same thing here. The only thing is, this is much, much faster. So, Doug, I can't tell if you're chomping at the bit to jump in on this or not.
I'm not. I
Going
think for me, I think about the difficulty that I had in remembering phone numbers when I had speed dial. So I get concerned about it becoming a tool for lazy people, you know, that won't do the research, that won't fill their brain up, but let it think for them. But that's, you know, I think that's going to be a generational issue, especially for probably our grandkids or great grandkids, where they're going to have to learn how to think.
Well, you know what? It's more than think, because a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now on like YouTube with all these instructional videos, people are doing that because things are getting complicated. People
Well-
just can't learn, you know, at the speed they need to keep up. So they need to have crutches like this to help them go beyond, you know, what we're capable of doing.
Well, and to Jen's point about, and your point about accuracy, I think we need to put this in the right context and realize that this is, a lot of the information that's here is essentially group think.
Yep.
It's what other people think. It has no morality. So, you know, you just got to keep those things in mind as well.
Well, absolutely. And that was the point I made, that it's not conscious. You know, that's the biggest difference between us doing this type of stuff manually and machines doing it for us.
Yeah, I just worry about it making me unconscious.
Yeah. You know what? I had a discussion with somebody earlier about this replacing people. You know, that you won't need such a big workforce when you do this. And we started going through that, and you actually need a larger workforce because you're doing things so much quicker. You need more people to implement the things that this designs and does and controls. So different skill levels, you know, just like there were people that used to walk around years ago lighting up street lamps, you know, the gas lamps in the cities. Well, I don't know how many people still do that, if it even exists. But that was a job that had to be done years ago that no longer exists. It's been replaced. Well, that's happening here, but other jobs come along because of it. Now you need the people to go out and repair the lights that are out in the street, you know, that, you know, weren't lit by gas. These are electric, and now you need electricians and different level of education. So the change is coming, the change is here. Just be aware of it. That's the whole point. Anything else from any of our people or attendees here in our room? Because I do want to be able to shut this down and let Mike do some announcements in-house for our people. All right, well, what we're going to do is I'm going to remind all of our Normie members that if you're out watching on the other platforms,
Lance, there is a question from Dan.
yeah,
If
go
you're
ahead.
relying on it for presentations, writing assignments, et cetera, it might make everyone sound the same, no individuality.
Very possible, but that again is why you recommend, or I'm recommending, that you take whatever it gives you and give it your own flavor, your own twist,
And
your
I
personality.
well, and as for writing assignments, I've heard teachers like college professors say that they can tell when someone has just used Chat GPT to generate a writing assignment, and that word will get around. So
Oh, absolutely.
it doesn't necessarily make them all sound the same, but you can tell if an extended piece of text has been written by AI or not.
And my understanding is that there's actually software that teachers are using now that can actually detect that by running the text through that software.
Absolutely.
There is,
Absolutely.
although there's been some false positives on that too. The technology is not perfect, and there's always going to be a need to have humans double check it. So
Absolutely.
I just saw that question, and I thought I would jump in and answer that where I could.
Well, thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. And, you know, truthfully, if you're in that type of environment where if you're doing this for schoolwork, that becomes an issue because it's not you doing the work, you know, and you're being graded or rated on how your production is compared to producing a product or working through other things. They're different purposes. But, you know, if you're in an environment where you're speaking and you have a certain type of language that you're using, and all of a sudden you're writing documents that are completely different than the way that you normally talk and act, that jumps out. You know, that's, you know, you can tell when somebody's acting phony. Well, same thing, writing phony. And we talked about, you know, reading the room. Well, this is the same kind of thing where you don't want to be producing documents and things outside of your norm, especially for school. So, all right. Give me one moment. I want to shut down the live feed. I want to thank everybody on the social media platforms for joining us today. Again, a reminder, if you are a Normie member, go to impact.normie.org so you can take part in the rest of this in our Zoom room. And I want to thank you all for being here. As far as next week is a Tuesday of a holiday, so there won't be CE or recertification training. Plus, we're all going to be at the experience. However, we will be broadcasting live throughout the 3-day period that we're out there at the experience show. So Normie TV will be covering that. So we'll be bouncing back between our regular broadcasting and interrupting that and going live from the experience with interviews and a lot of other things that we have planned. So I hope to see you all some point next week online at normie.tv. So stand by, let me shut down the other feeds and I will be right back.